"Mom, we are turning the world upside down to find you, and we absolutely refuse to quit. Us kids vow to keep pushing until our family is finally reunited." Conventional wisdom claims authorities constantly zero in on whoever spotted the victim last as their primary suspect. Yet Nancy Guthrie's vanishing act just twisted in a bizarre direction that entirely blindsided even federal agents. Detectives exhausted weeks, ripping through countless clues scattered across the Catalina foothills. However, once authorities legally breached her son-in-law's vehicle, the staggering concealed evidence they uncovered completely shattered the investigation's entire foundational premise. Although Pima County authorities remain incredibly secretive regarding the exact forensic details, unofficial lab leaks hint that this vehicular evidence shatters the accepted sequence of events by multiple pivotal hours. This begs the ultimate question: did we miss the obvious reality? Or are we staring at a brilliantly executed scientific diversion? Follow along while we unpack the explosive revelation currently shocking online communities. We are examining the broken schedule surrounding Nancy Guthrie's sudden vanishing. From the moment Nancy Guthrie faded away, web sleuths did far beyond casually observing. They have meticulously analyzed every single fragment and passing second, while continuously anchoring their chatter around a solitary figure. That man is Tommaso Cioni, her daughter's husband. Initially, folks merely shared typical theories accompanying such mysteries. Presently, as fresh details violently erupt onto the scene, those whispers rapidly transition from meaningless chatter into glaring anomalies that detectives simply cannot overlook anymore. Since recent official statements concerning the inspection of Cioni's automobile are currently sparking incredibly heavy suspicions, we aren't discussing minor hiccups, but rather profound revelations that supposedly butcher his alibi, leaving it entirely unraveled. Should his established sequence of events completely crumble, our entire comprehension of that grim evening unravels simultaneously alongside it. Grasping the true gravity of this situation requires rewinding straight back to square one. Returning to the final verified instance, someone spotted Nancy Guthrie drawing breath. Saturday, January 31st, 2026. Within the Catalina foothills bordering Tucson, Guthrie spent that twilight enjoying supper at her child Annie's residence. Having arrived via rideshare earlier, several hours passed until roughly 9:48 p.m. when Annie's spouse, Tommaso Cioni, had chauffeured her homeward, right at 9:50 p.m. Her garage securely shut, and supposedly, Cioni then motored off. This specific instant holds massive weight since everything afterwards devolves into absolute mystery. Following sunrise, Guthrie faced an expected virtual congregation broadcast obligation. She totally failed to materialize. Initially, folks likely assumed a harmless holdup occurred. Perhaps slumber claimed her, or a trivial inconvenience arose. Yet creeping hours birthed immense dread. A fellow congregant ultimately contacted her kin. Come 11 a.m. Loved ones hastily traveled toward her property for a wellness assessment. Upon arrival, an eerie wrongness greeted them. The family scoured the residence and inspected the exterior grounds. She remained completely invisible, though her cellular device sat indoors. Her crucial daily necessities stayed behind too. Considering her physical restrictions and reliance upon vital prescriptions, this fact bypassed mere worry and ignited sheer panic. Approaching 12:03 p.m., relatives frantically dialed 911 for emergency assistance. 12 minutes onward, responding Pima County deputies arrived on scene, instantly recognizing this wasn't an ordinary runaway scenario. Stepping indoors, officers quickly observed bizarre elements that utterly destroyed the theory of a spontaneous, voluntary departure. Following that, the chronological puzzle emerged. At 1:47 a.m., long after her safe return, her porch surveillance lens went totally black. This wasn't some technical failure or dead zone. A masked and gloved individual deliberately severed the connection. Retrieved cloud data eventually revealed a weaponized stranger violently meddling with the hardware. Come 2:12 a.m., sensors picked up physical activity. Hitting 2:28 a.m., her cardiac tracking machine skipped its routine upload. Normally, this registers as a minor digital glitch, yet here it screams like a terrifyingly permanent dead stop. Following that, absolute silence fell. 0 verified appearances, 0 transit records, and absolutely zero clues regarding her ultimate destination. With the manhunt escalating rapidly, municipal, regional, and national bureaus flooded the vicinity with massive tactical assets. Recovery squads rigorously swept the Catalina terrain utilizing automated flyers, trained canines, plus helicopter units, heavily backed by United States Border Patrol agents. Regardless of this monumental effort, she vanished like smoke, hitting February 2nd, barely into the expedition. Law enforcement executed a massive strategic pivot. The rescue mission officially died. A malicious foul play inquiry commenced instead, and Sheriff Chris Nanos delivered the brutal truth. Walking into that house felt like stepping straight into an absolute nightmare. Detectives quickly concluded that someone dragged her into the darkness against her desperate struggles. Her failing health completely crushed any theory of a voluntary escape. Exploring the residence simply amplified the sheer horror of the situation. Crimson splatters marked the entryway. Lab technicians eventually matched those gruesome traces directly to the missing woman. Surveillance footage captured a disturbing red path smudged across the main threshold. Police stayed completely quiet about the severity of the wounds or the exact volume spilled. Though nobody really needed those grim specifics, the silent message was absolutely terrifying. Abandoned daily essentials. A ripped-out surveillance lens. Authorities labeled the chaotic environment as deeply disturbing. All signs screamed abduction. Nobody walked away freely. Despite massive police mobilization, overwhelming media focus, and mounting physical clues, a massive gap in the narrative still haunts detectives today. How did things go so wrong between the garage shutting at 9:50 in the evening and the chaotic dawn that followed? The recent twist involving the vehicle belonging to Tommaso Cian changes everything. Detectives might finally be bridging that massive, crucial gap. Should these dark rumors hold any truth, our accepted sequence of events isn't merely flawed. It is completely and utterly shattered. Those violent smears and the ripped-out lens clearly illustrate the brutal finale. Yet the ride that dropped her off might finally reveal the origin of the terror. And automobile cops refuse to surrender. The missing puzzle pieces authorities desperately crave. Detectives have spent several weeks silently clutching onto a single crucial item, completely refusing to send it home. Right now, that bizarre stubbornness is sparking way more suspicion than bringing actual clarity to the public. Officials acknowledge that the ride linked to the victim's final verified moments remains locked away inside a highly secured police lot, skipping the usual speedy release, avoiding any standard clearance. That blue Honda crossover, deeply tied to both Annie and her partner Tommaso Cian, remained firmly out of the family's hands even past the middle of the week on Wednesday, March 11th. Though Brass repeatedly promises an eventual handover of the keys, nobody offers any concrete dates or deadlines. Zero hints about a release schedule exist whatsoever. This abnormal delay speaks volumes, since typical crime autos get snapped, swabbed, and handed back quickly once the surface clues dry up, never lingering in the impound yard. Yet this specific ride lingered, definitely not gathering dust in some forgotten parking spot. Forensics crews are aggressively tearing into it right now. Detectives claim the local county sheriff firmly controls the automobile, continuously probing every inch for hidden clues connected to the dark mystery. Obviously, whatever grim task they are performing remains entirely unresolved. Suddenly, a fresh bombshell dropped, throwing an unexpected curveball into the public narrative. On the March 10th broadcast of a popular true crime podcast, a veteran journalist leaked that the automobile never sat idle in a garage. They relocated it to a specialized body shop, strictly guarded by deputies, meticulously stripped down to the bolts, beyond mere washing, bypassing standard checks for heavy dismantling. The correspondent clarified how mechanics are literally rebuilding the frame following a brutal teardown, proving cops didn't merely glance under seats. They entirely gutted the machine. Such extreme measures completely flipped the script, since ripping a machine down to its skeletal core proves cops stopped caring about simple surface stains entirely. They are hunting for concealed secrets. A dark prize shoved deep into unseen crevices nobody ever checks without absolute certainty. Seizing the ride initially gave it massive importance in the broader, ongoing criminal investigation. Serving as the ultimate location she occupied before vanishing into thin air instantly made the metal shell crucial. yet the reality of its extended captivity enduring endless forensic scrutiny, and lacking clearance for release implies it shifted from a mere clue to a smoking gun. Meanwhile, cops also hauled away the victim's personal automobile, which sat perfectly idle inside the bays when officers rolled up on February 1st. Yet, unlike the borrowed crossover, absolutely nobody has offered fresh news regarding its fate, leaving its clearance or continued captivity a total mystery. Such absolute quiet screams for attention. Throughout the chaos, local county deputies and federal agents operate shoulder to shoulder, treading with extreme precision, hoarding details fiercely and dropping only the bare minimum of facts, proving that whatever dark secrets they uncover inside that gutted metal shell receive an intense caution that screams absolute importance. Consequently, the mystery morphs into another puzzle. What horrifying anomaly pushed the forensic squad to completely butcher that automobile down to the absolute bare metal? Furthermore, why does this stubborn refusal to surrender the keys persist weeks later? Right now, that metal frame transcends mere physical proof. Acting as a silent witness, still screaming its terrible truths, a sudden emergence from the shadows ignited an absolute firestorm. On February 3rd, 2026, everything completely flipped. The official probe remained steady, yet the looming dread abruptly felt suffocatingly close to home. Since Nancy Guthrie vanished, her daughter Annie and son-in-law Tommaso Cion finally surfaced in plain sight. They stayed completely mute. They moved with eerie caution while flashing lenses captured a fleeting look at the exact family currently anchoring the most intensely scrutinized mystery in the nation. Those exclusive snapshots secured by Page 6 lacked clear details, yet they silently screamed absolute volumes. Stepping outside their Tucson residence, Annie kept her gaze firmly anchored to the pavement, aggressively tugging a pink hoodie over her features. Right beside her, her husband mirrored the evasive tactic, hiking his sweatshirt above his nose and hiding behind dark shades to vanish completely. Zero eye contact, zero hesitation, just a brilliantly swift and highly controlled departure. The specific timing absolutely demands your attention, as this was far from an accidental outing. It occurred exactly as the immense public pressure reached a boiling point. Every single movement faced an incredibly ruthless public microscope. That scrutiny makes perfect sense given one haunting detail constantly surfacing. Tommaso Cion remains the very last individual who saw Nancy Guthrie breathing. Disregard those initial rumors pointing at Annie. It was actually Cion who chauffeured her back to her residence that dark evening. He dropped her off shortly before 10 p.m. Following their meal, he is directly tethered to the last known fragment of her timeline. Fast forward several weeks, and he remains firmly planted in the absolute eye of the storm. The extreme lack of public background info simply deepens the overwhelming mystery. Nobody holds a solid timeline detailing when he officially married into the Guthrie clan. Yet, in a 2013 interview, Annie painted a profoundly intimate portrait, dubbing the man both her devoted spouse and her absolute greatest mentor. She enthusiastically described his unique talent for manifesting visions into reality, highlighting his artistic spirit and passion for penning poetry. The jarring disconnect between those glowing words and today's grim reality remains impossible to ignore. Yet, right as public obsession fixated on that rare appearance, another crucial twist silently materialized away from the glaring spotlight. On Saturday, February 7th, detectives officially returned to Annie and Cion's home. They searched for nearly 3 hours, arriving post-sunset and vanishing near midnight. Insider reports confirm they absolutely did not leave the premises empty-handed. Eyewitnesses observed bags of physical proof getting hauled from the premises, entirely authorized by the cooperative duo. That exact moment birthed a rampant wave of dark internet theories, as digital chatter instantly became hyper-fixated on a single, terrifying chemical term: luminol. This specific forensic agent only ever enters the chat when detectives desperately hunt for gruesome, invisible stains that the human eye completely misses. The exact invisible remnants somebody frantically tried wiping away. Currently, zero official verification exists regarding any chemical agent sprayed inside that house. Police remain utterly tight-lipped. The police outright refuse to drop hints. Yet, that sheer chilling potential instantly warped the public's perception regarding that ominous midnight raid. Grasping the massive gravity requires knowing the exact science. Ex-federal operative Brianna Fox perfectly translated the gritty mechanics for the general public. The expert noted how the mixture violently emits an eerie neon blue aura upon touching concealed organic matter like plasma, spit, or liquid waste, microscopic matter that totally evades normal sight yet stubbornly refuses to permanently vanish. The compound thrives in pitch blackness, reacting instantaneously to violently expose every single scrubbed-away secret. However, the seasoned pro established one crucial boundary. Deploying this glowing spray, assuming it even occurred, hardly guarantees the property served as a primary slaughterhouse or murder spot. By itself, the chemical spray proves absolutely nothing. It merely signals extreme detective diligence, scanning every microscopic crevice and faint blemish. Within these complex puzzles, an overwhelmingly microscopic clue possesses the terrifying power to flip the entire narrative. Fox firmly emphasized that forensic squads never enjoy the privileged convenience of a second chance. Any crucial evidence must be captured during that initial sweep. Therefore, they systematically refuse to overlook or casually discard a single tiny detail. Suddenly, the whole blurry picture crystallizes. You have an intensely scrutinized clan finally breaking cover, aggressively masking their identities. A grueling midnight property sweep lasting hours. Sealed physical proof stealthily hauled away into the darkness. Plus the chilling potential, just a sheer potential, that detectives actively hunted for microscopic sins invisible to normal sight. The burning mystery no longer just asks where the missing matriarch went. It deeply questions what grim scenario the cops suspect, and the absolute extremes they'll pursue to expose the ugly truth. That controversial suspect image suddenly ignited a massive avalanche of fresh inquiries. Nearly 2 agonizing months have passed since she mysteriously vanished from her quiet Arizona residence. Instead of providing closure, this twisted puzzle continually attracts unprecedented levels of intense public scrutiny. This heat intensely roasts a specific unofficial target, a guy dodging formal charges while bizarrely remaining permanently glued to the absolute dead center of the media circus. Then a huge twist flipped the chessboard. On February 10th, 2026, FBI boss Kash Patel took the mic, leaking fresh intel that aggressively cranked the stakes to the absolute maximum. $100,000 is the massive bounty. Authorities will pay this fortune to anyone providing clues that track down Nancy Guthrie or bring her captors to ultimate justice. Yet the staggering cash prize barely scratched the surface here. Phoenix federal agents also revealed a suspect, an average-built male standing between 5'9" and 5'10". Surveillance video captured this person lugging a black 25-liter Ozark Trail outdoor backpack. The released snapshot showed an obscured, masked suspect. Yet it provided enough detail to immediately ignite a massive avalanche of public theories. Web sleuths immediately launched into their usual obsessive comparisons. And the crosshairs quickly settled right back onto her son-in-law, Tomaso Seyon. Law enforcement maintains their original stance, explicitly stating they still refuse to label him as an official suspect. However, cyber investigators ignored those boundaries, particularly when anchor Ashley Banfield from News Nation publicly questioned his potential guilt. Police vehemently denied this connection, though the rumor had already spread like wildfire. As amateur detectives pieced the puzzle together, one seemingly minor factor took center stage: the suspect's vertical stature. Once federal investigators pinpointed the 5'9" to 5'10" measurement, everyone started demanding a specific answer. What is the exact height of Guthrie's relative? Social media exploded overnight as users on X scrutinized old pictures, dissected body ratios, and analyzed every single digital frame. Certain critics argued that Seyon looked significantly larger than the federal profile, while stubborn believers doubled down on their accusations, insisting his physical frame, body language, and general mass distribution mirrored the security footage perfectly. A specific poster thoroughly mapped it out, picturing a guy between 5'10" and 6 feet, weighing roughly 230 pounds, featuring a heavy midsection paired with relatively slender arms and rather bulky thighs, claiming the physical similarities were absolutely undeniable. Yet, these viral assumptions remain purely subjective opinions rather than proven facts. Whenever tragic mysteries lack concrete evidence and tensions run hot, wild speculation easily manages to completely outpace the actual truth. Nevertheless, These convenient coincidences are incredibly difficult to overlook. A disguised prowler on tape, a detailed federal profile, and a relative connected to the exact location where the victim vanished. Consequently, public discourse pivoted from merely locating the missing woman to debating if the Fed's snapshot implicates an established acquaintance or a total stranger. 3 separate hypotheses emerged just as a crucial ticking clock expired. The prolonged hunt for the missing matriarch has spawned a deeply disturbing lack of answers. This eerie quiet compels detectives, media pundits, and retired experts to completely reevaluate their initial assumptions about the crime. Whenever an investigation stalls out entirely, the pool of potential scenarios naturally begins to multiply. Former federal executive Dan Bongino practically proved this phenomenon when he publicly offered his expert analysis of the baffling situation. During an intense interview broadcast alongside Sean Hannity, the security veteran refused to embrace a singular narrative. He proposed a trio of options first. The official police theory, suggesting an intentional, calculated hostage grab driven by financial extortion. That concept neatly aligns with the most obvious preliminary clues: the threatening texts, the ticking clock, the mounting stress, until he pivoted. His alternate theory paints a far messier picture, a routine offense that disastrously evolved into pure tragedy. Imagine a random break-in at the residence where a sudden confrontation violently alters the intruder's original agenda. Amidst the resulting panic, the panicked perpetrator hastily improvises a fake hostage scenario, weaponizing ransom notes to completely disguise their accidentally botched home invasion. Finally, he dropped a massive bombshell perspective that entirely upends the conventional narrative. Perhaps no malicious abduction ever took place. Instead, an entirely different disaster unfolded behind those closed doors, like a sudden health crisis or bizarre accident, making the current extortion plot nothing more than a carefully manufactured smokescreen. As the expert astutely noted, missing persons cases that remain unsolved past the crucial initial 48 hours generally indicate 2 distinct realities. You are either hunting an incredibly sophisticated, flawlessly disciplined criminal syndicate, or the accepted public storyline is completely fabricated, which makes this entire mystery exponentially more terrifying. Even as internet sleuths loudly debate these terrifying possibilities, local cops refuse to budge from square one. Puma County authorities emphatically declare they currently possess absolutely 0 named suspects or formal persons of interest, lacking any verified getaway cars or tangible forensic evidence to justify making a singular definitive accusation. Meanwhile, a massively ominous milestone just vanished into the rearview mirror without a whisper. The final extortion cutoff time, 5 o'clock Monday afternoon. That was the kidnapper's explicit ransom deadline in Arizona. The hour vanished, leaving a terrifying void. An initial ultimatum had already passed without any incident beforehand. 0 signs of survival, no fresh clues, and completely absent communication left investigators grasping at shadows. Absolute quiet remained. Amidst this agonizing stillness, Savannah Guthrie finally broke her silence. Setting aside her broadcast persona, she pleaded simply as a heartbroken child, uploading an emotional clip to the internet. Her strained tone revealed the immense trauma of relatives enduring a prolonged nightmare. She called this period an era of absolute despair, insisting their matriarch remains alive. She emphasized the kidnapping reality while admitting complete ignorance regarding the current location. Subsequently, she issued a desperate public plea, bypassing generic statements to personally beg citizens everywhere to submit any peculiar details, no matter how insignificant they might initially appear. By now, this investigation has evolved far beyond mere speculation. We are navigating the terrifying void separating rumored details, verified facts, and the crucial evidence still missing. Currently, that terrifying chasm merely continues to grow. Pushing past discarded clothing, the mystery broadens immensely as concrete explanations remain completely elusive. Briefly, those discarded hand coverings appeared to be the exact golden ticket that investigators had desperately craved. 2 dark winter mittens turned up merely 2 miles away from Nancy Guthrie's residence. The proximity felt incredibly relevant, practically screaming a direct link. Once genetic profiling linked those items to a local diner employee who secured immediate exoneration. That specific investigative avenue seemingly slammed shut just as quickly as it surfaced. Yet, it remained open, although ordinary citizens quickly forgot this clue. Law enforcement refused. Recent covert disclosures provided by Sheriff Chris Nanos completely redefined the investigation's overall magnitude. Entirely surprising, almost everyone following the gripping story, that initial pair lacked uniqueness. Additional sets appeared roughly 6 to 7 miles past Nancy's property line, with laboratory analysis currently ongoing for all. This revelation alters everything, hinting that the evening's sinister events probably extended far beyond the immediate vicinity surrounding her personal estate. The geographical spread of this crime scene reaches significantly deeper than initial broadcasts claimed, indicating that dedicated authorities must now traverse a vastly broader search perimeter than casual observers ever initially realized. Simultaneously, detectives refuse to abandon the primary residence as a focal point. Law enforcement officials continually revisit Nancy's private property multiple times, thoroughly re-examining an environment previously labeled by experts as incredibly alarming. While these discreet property inspections occur out of sight, an equally colossal operation simultaneously gathers momentum. Countless recorded hours, highway monitors, residential security clips, and smart doorbells. Detectives meticulously scrutinize every conceivable visual perspective around the dwelling, second by second, hunting down any obscure details overlooked during initial sweeps. This incorporates that highly viral clip featuring the disguised intruder, that suspicious figure who creeped toward the porch, noticed the lens, blocked its view, and vanished into darkness. Sheriff Nanos boldly clarified the department's absolute primary trajectory today: laboratory science, cyber trails, genetic markers. These silent clues require immense patience, yet their eventual translation completely rewrites reality. Nevertheless, passing the 30-day mark of this inquiry, the entire situation occupies an incredibly bizarre limbo. Superficially, progress appears to have ground to an absolute halt. Those initial shockers, crimson drops on the mat, disguised prowlers, extortion notes, alongside strict ultimatums, every single bizarre element aggressively promised an imminent, explosive breakthrough back then. Thus far, zero handcuffs have clicked. No officially identified targets exist either. Meanwhile, public perception beyond the restrictive police tape is now noticeably, undeniably transforming. Media attention, formerly obsessing over daily press briefings, now steadily wanders. Fresh dramas continually dominate screens. International crews, sudden alerts. The journalism machine endlessly churns forward, completely ignoring this unresolved, haunting local tragedy. Dedicated followers genuinely find this media pivot profoundly depressing and burdensome. However, a severe drought in press releases rarely signifies a total lack of active police hustle. It merely implies the breakthroughs are strictly classified. Veteran criminologists readily consider this tedious plateau perfectly standard, despite incredibly frustrating civilian optics. An inquiry's initial dawn constantly bursts with rapid, highly publicized, and intensely visible chaotic action. Following that initial blitz, the daily grind turns silent, sluggish, extremely systematic, and fundamentally crucial. As one veteran profiler concisely summarized, the active trail remains piping hot. It only appears completely frozen to outsiders lacking a badge. Off-camera, exhausted detectives systematically dissect countless potential new threads. Over 3,000 citizen reports flooded the switchboards. Each individual claim requires thorough vetting, corroboration, or swift dismissal, demanding immense patience. Patience is a terrible luxury the grieving relatives simply cannot afford anymore. Nancy Guthrie recently started vocalizing the overwhelmingly grim truth everyone desperately avoids confronting. After boosting the monetary bounty considerably, she confessed that alongside their relentless hunt, they painfully recognized the high probability of their beloved matriarch having already perished. Regardless, they soldier onward. The verbal begging ceased. Their promised payout currently exceeds an astonishing combined sum of $1 million. Swarms of police officers are completely locking down the block, while federal agents relentlessly pound on every single door. Elite county murder detectives are now officially partnering up with the federal task force. The local sheriff hinted they are on the brink of a major breakthrough, yet they refuse to reveal their cards just yet, since patience is absolutely everything here. The exact secrets detectives hold, and the precise moment they drop them, will either make or completely break this entire investigation. Authorities are staying dead silent, not from a lack of evidence, but to fiercely protect a massive, undeniable smoking gun. That is exactly where this chilling mystery stands today. Do you believe the Guthrie situation is secretly killing their progress? Drop your wildest theories in the comments section right now. Please hit that like button, subscribe, and definitely tap the next clip popping up for you. You will absolutely love it. This story is a powerful reminder that truth is often hidden beneath layers of confusion, speculation, and fear. In moments of crisis, people search for quick answers, pointing fingers, building theories, and trying to make sense of the unknown. But this case teaches us the importance of patience and responsibility when facing uncertainty. Not everything we see is the full picture. Assumptions, especially in emotionally charged situations, can lead to misunderstanding and even harm innocent people. Real justice requires careful investigation, discipline, and respect for facts, not rushed conclusions driven by emotion or public pressure. At the same time, this story highlights the strength of love and perseverance. Despite fear, doubt, and time passing, the family continues searching, refusing to give up hope. That determination shows the true meaning of care, standing by someone even when answers seem impossible. It also reminds us to value every moment with the people we love. Life can change without warning, and what feels like an ordinary day can become something we wish we could relive. In the end, this is not just a mystery, it is a call to stay thoughtful, compassionate, and patient in a world that often rushes to judge before understanding.